I did last time also. So remember, we're working primarily in Photoshop, and when you make your file, make sure it's in inches. It's going to be 8 by 10, so 8 by 10. We'll keep everything else the same. Good resolution, RGB will stay there. We'll say okay to this. Now keep in mind, right now I've got it as vertical. I could have it horizontal, make it landscape. You can always go to image and rotate your canvas 90 degrees and that'll work this way. Let's drag on some imagery and see if I can work from it. The one that I was really drawn to was this picture, not that picture, this picture of the tree, because it looks like roots. It looks like something that I can, it's very directional. So I'm going to make this one be my background type layer. And since it's a tree, I can pretty much stretch it to be whatever I want it to be. Then I'll start adding on my other images. I had the picture of the moon. Let's see if I can drag that into there. I had the pictures of the hands. This one was really cool. And of course they're all in their own separate layers as I'm working. So I need to be conscious about what layer they're in and where they're at. I can always scale them, I can rotate them. I thought it was kind of cool, I'll turn this off, like the tree is reaching out this way, so maybe I would have the hand reaching out that way also. The fun comes in, how do we blend these together? How can I get rid of the white or see some different overlaying effects? And this is what we do in our layers palette. Of course, right now this is on top of my background, so if I change my blending mode to something like multiply, I know that'll get rid of the white area that's around here. And I could even see underneath here. And so now I'm really starting to blend. I'm getting some unexpected type things to work with. In the last class, I changed it to screen, and I got something like this. This I thought was really cool because now I get an image that looks like veins going up a person's hand, and it's all white and marked out from there. But changing up your blending mode will give you some really unique type of results that you may not have even expected. Let's try some other ones, like vivid light. Well, that gives me something like this. Difference often gives you, that's kind of cool. So now I'm seeing an opposite type of effect. So if you had to pick a mood for this, what mood comes to mind when you see something like that? Is it happy? That's not going to do anything. That's kind of cool to subtract. So now I've got the same thing, but at this time everything is black and it's reaching forward this way. Let's see if I can keep going with this one. Maybe not subtract. Let's try multiply. I'll keep it at multiply. So as I'm pulling forward, I'm looking for something that'll give me a good composition. Let's see if I can now throw my moon in and use the moon to work with. Same thing, changing up the color mode, changing up the different blending. That's pretty neat. So now I've got a moon that's completely different color. Can fill up part of the space. Maybe even bring this down. If I wanted to fade it, remember you can use your layer masks. Let's pull that up so we can see it. So maybe I wanted to layer mask this one on here, and whatever I paint black will allow me to quickly fade that from one side to the other. Let's keep going. So if I wanted to add my image of Jesus or some sort of visual imagery onto this one, we'll drag him in there. Since he is a lower resolution, he turned out pretty small, but I can still blow him up for this one and it'll turn out okay. Same thing, all I'm going to do is change my blending mode. Let's see what this gives me. So multiply, not too good. Screen, that's pretty cool. I can barely see him coming through there. Let's try something else. Overlay gives me a little bit more. But all I'm doing is playing around, seeing what will come up from this one. Hey, that's kind of cool. So now I'm getting this. Ah, I like that. I like how I can see part of his face up there and still it reaches down into here. Let's keep playing around with the blending modes for this one. Maybe this one will be reaching out towards this way. Nope, don't want to do that. Going down like that. I had a crown of thorns. There we are. Let's pull this one in. The poem talks about thorns and using the thorns within it. So maybe this could be added into here. The main thing is I'm looking for ways to draw my eye to one area or the other. And I'm doing this simply by placing things, making them larger, smaller, making them interact with one another. That's kind of cool. Yeah. Maybe I'll come back to this one and we'll see what we can do with it. In working in composition, you want one thing to be your focal point. You want your eyes to be drawn to one thing. Everything else will be secondary. So if I want his face to be the primary thing, this needs to be the brightest or the largest or the most contrasting. If I wanted the hand to be the most important thing, maybe I would want that to be the largest or the brightest or standing out in some way. Some other things you can try to do or add layer adjustments. Remember, these adjustments allow you to tweak and change things on your composition. So let's say I wanted to change the color of the hand or change the color of the entire composition. I'm going to let's add a gradient map to what I'm working with. And by default, I've got it at black and white. See what happens if I change the color of this gradient map. Now I've changed the color of the entire composition to be one specific type thing. Hey, that's kind of cool. Meh, maybe not. Let's keep it with this. I'm not a fan of the yellow. Make that all the way into white. I can start changing up, tweaking it to be exactly what I want. I can change the blending mode to overlays. So instead of it being normal, what would have happened if I would to change that to a color or to, let's try this one. So this is starting to give me something totally different. I didn't expect to be able to see or to create something from this one. Let's get wild. Let's add some more imagery. Let's add this one on top of here. Just another tree. I can click and drag this tree over on top of everything, change a blending mode. So now I'm getting something a little bit more from this one. I can even change what layer it's on. It's starting to get pretty muddy, so maybe I need to tone something down. Or remove it altogether. If I wanted to specifically color one area, remember you can turn on a gradient map, do a clipping mask. So if I wanted just his face to have those particular colors, now it's starting to bring it out. Check out the coloring that happened once I started doing that. That's pretty neat. Again, we're getting the difference, we're getting the different colors to pull from. Let's make the moon a little bit bigger. You can see by doing that I'm changing up. I kind of like that from there. But again, my composition is just as abstract as the poem that we're interpreting. All I'm doing is playing around with how the blending modes work together. Let's add another one. Let's say I wanted to add a photo filter to this particular layer. Photo filters allow me to filter in some different colors. So if I wanted it to all have this kind of a warm toned overlay to everything, now it's starting to look a little more unified to work within. Let's see what would happen if I swapped around my tree. I'm kind of liking that. Let's go in a little more with the flow. hand reaching forth, reaching out into this tree type matter. All I'm doing is having fun. All I'm doing is making something that I think fits. Y'all have any suggestions? Any ideas? You can add text if you wanted to. Not saying you have to add the title of it. Let's see if I went back to my homage, or excuse me, glorify, and found something that really stands up. So mighty God, or crown of thorns, crushed and broken. So hallowed be your name. Pulling something like this in there. I like the word your name to be a part of it. So I'm going to copy and paste this into here and see if I can add text to be part of my overall composition. Same thing with the text layer. I can change up its blending mode to be able to get some type of effect that maybe wasn't there before. I can add layer style, so maybe it needs a drop shadow, maybe it needs something else to stand out. I'm not getting it too much from here. Maybe not. No, stay away from bevel and emboss. Size the spread. Ooh, if I drop the fill opacity, I get something that looks closer to that. That's getting pretty good. Oh, let's make it dissolved. Don't go away. I'm having fun. So all it is just changing up different things. Let's try a different font to work within. Kind of a cool font. Now I'm adding this. I can't see it too well on the overhead, but for my screen, this gives me a different type of look. Different color, different pace. Can't really see it, can we? Oh well. But you get the idea. What I'm not looking for is if you make a composition that looks something like this, where you just take the image and you place it in here, and all you're doing is just adding images and collaging them together. Make sense? This is not what I'm looking for. Don't just say, oh, here it is, here's this, adding a little blending mode, and that's it. What I want to see is a full-on aesthetic type composition. This is something that gives me more of a look and feel of art. Make sense? Think you could do that? And you can see in 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, I was able to come up with something that had never existed before, completely off the wall. And all I did was change colors, change blending modes, add images, the images that you found, one on top of each other, and start changing up what it creates. And this is what becomes of it. All cool? So that's what we're going to work on today. I'm going to play you some of the music